Is Wuthering Waves really worth the hype? Does Zenless Zone Zero really have the best combat? Do both games actually suck? Is Aether Gazer more fun? What about Guardian Tales or Tower of we all know Tower of Fantasy should be included in a list of the best action gacha games. But what should be? Let's find out. These rankings aren't solely based on combat, rather the cumulative of a number of different features: story, combat, graphics, character models, and free-to-play friendliness. My experience with Neverness Everness is based off of the very first Chinese closed beta that took place towards the end of 2024. Neverness Everness is an open world RPG. It features a decent combat system, pretty flashy, but overall lacking weight. Graphically, it looks beautiful. The world, the abilities, the character models are okay, not great, but not bad at all. The story is very good and is told in a way that I haven't seen done before, making it arguably the standout feature of the game. I was enthralled whenever a cutscene played. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, unfortunately we can't really know until we get closer to release and the gacha system is showcased. I'd give the story a 7 out of 10, the combat a 3 out of 10, graphics a 7 out of 10, character models a 3 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 5 out of 10, since I can't properly rate it at present, but this seems fair. In total, 25 out of 50. Genshin Impact is an open world RPG. It features much slower, less complicated combat with a strong focus on elemental reactions, the area of its combat that truly separates itself from its competition. Graphically, the world is absolutely stunning, but its character models are definitely beginning to show its age. The story can be really good at its highs and really bad at its lows. Most of the story seems to be mindless exposition and Paimon regurgitating information that we already had. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, Genshin is horrible. Pity at 90 with a 50-50 present, including a weapon pity at 80 with a 50-50 present as well, meaning they can cost you over $500 to get a character and their weapon. I'd give the story a 5 out of 10, the combat a 7 out of 10, the graphics a 7 out of 10, character models a 5 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 3 out of 10. In total, 27 out of 50. Honkai Impact is a mostly instance, chapter, and mission-based RPG with more freeing, open content being introduced over the course of its life cycle. It features moderate-paced combat. Graphically, it is a cute game with very cute characters. It definitely doesn't hold up in terms of degen appeal that some of the other games have, but it still does really well. The story goes up and down, but is for the most part very good. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, I believe recently, with the Part 2 overhaul, several changes were made to the gacha system. The guarantee was reduced from 100 to 90, a signature weapon is guaranteed at 60 pulls, gear banners share pity and carry over to future banners, probably one of the better Hoyo games in terms of rates. I'd give story a 6 out of 10, the combat a 6 out of 10, the graphics a 6 out of 10, the character models a 6 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 4 out of 10. In total, 28 out of 50. My experience with Duet Night Abyss is based off of the technical tests that I participated in earlier 2024, but I have access to the first global closed beta coming early 2025, which should give me a much more concrete look at the game. This is a segregated world RPG with large areas that you can freely explore and interact with, but loading screens separating them. It has some of the best combat the genre has to offer, not in terms of complexity or fluidity, rather in terms of variety. It's both an action game and a third-person shooter, bringing a Warframe style of combat to the genre that is desperately needed. Graphically, it looks good, great-looking characters as well. The story is decent, nothing to stand out, but from what we got to play through during the test phase, it was fun and pretty lighthearted. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, unfortunately, we can't know until we get closer to release and the gacha system is showcased. I'd give story a 4 out of 10, the combat an 8 out of 10, graphics a 6 out of 10, character models a 6 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 5 out of 10 since I can't properly rate it at present, but this seems fair. In total, 29 out of 50. Before we go any further, I do want to take a moment here to thank all of my incredible patrons over on Patreon and my YouTube channel members who allow for me to continue to do dedicated videos like this every single day. You guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot thank you all enough for the support. Aether Gazer is an instance, chapter, and mission-based RPG. It features full, fast, fluid combat. It allows you to deploy 3 different characters at once, all occupying the field concurrently, something the majority of its competition just doesn't allow for. Graphically, the game is pretty average in terms of scenery, environment. However, the character models are exceptionally degenerate. Seriously, some of the characters are just, they're just a little bit too good. The story is decent, nothing fancy. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, pity is 70, which isn't too bad. There is a 50-50 present, meaning it can take you up to 140 pulls to guarantee the limited banner character. I'd give the story a 5 out of 10, combat a 7 out of 10, graphics a 6 out of 10, character models an 8 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 6 out of 10. In total, 32 out of 50. Guardian Tales is an instance, chapter, and mission-based RPG, but not in the same way that some of the other games here are. Instead, you select a mission, and you freely explore the region that you deploy your units to. It's very reminiscent of an old Zelda JRPG. It has very simple combat, but isn't inhibited by its graphical style. Rather, it presents a whole different style of gameplay altogether, providing what is arguably one of the only unique-feeling action gacha games out there. Graphically, it is a very cute game. Characters are cute, but it has zero degen appeal. Not that this game needs it. The story is phenomenal, easily one of the best stories in gacha. It's fun, it's silly, it doesn't take itself seriously, but it does have its dark points, its emotional points, and it doesn't feel like a gacha game at all. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, much like in Nikke or Blue Archive, there's no real pity in game. Rather, there is a mileage system allowing you to purchase characters after 300 pulls, and they're pretty generous when it comes to currency. I'd give story a 9 out of 10, the combat a 5 out of 10, graphics a 6 out of 10, character models a 5 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 7 out of 10. In total, 32 out of 50. Punishing Grey Raven is an instance, chapter, and mission-based RPG. It features what many people argue is the fastest, flashiest, most complex action combat in the genre. I'd personally say top 3, definitely. Graphically, the world looks pretty average, much like Aether Gazer, but the character models look absolutely fantastic. Generous where they need to be, and lacking appropriate protection from both damage and the male gaze, as I've heard to it referred to on Twitter. The story starts off pretty slow, but picks up the further you progress into the game, becoming quite exceptional eventually. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, pity is at 60, much lower than any other gacha game here. And there is no 50-50 for characters, meaning you're guaranteed a limited banner character by 60 pulls. The weapon banner will be undergoing changes where, after failing to obtain the limited banner weapon at pity, 30 pulls, you'll be guaranteed it on your next pity. The limited weapon rate is 80% though, which is still very high. I'd give the story a 6 out of 10, combat an 8 out of 10, graphics a 6 out of 10, character models an 8 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 9 out of 10. In total, 37 out of 50. My experience with Arknights Endfield is based off of the first global closed beta that took place towards the end of January 2025. Arknights Endfield is an open world RPG. It features a relatively fast combat system, but it's not overly flashy. You have 4 total characters occupying the field together, with combos, ultimate abilities, utility, providing a lot of unique interactions. Graphically, it looks absolutely stunning. Easily one of the most incredible looking upcoming gacha games. And the character models look even better. Perhaps some of, if not the best looking character models after Wuthering Waves. The story is fantastic, it's dark, it's funny, there is a lot of personality on display. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, there is a 50-50 at 80 pulls, a guarantee at 120 pulls for your first character banner, and you can buy character dupes with tickets in the same way as mileage. I'd give the story an 8 out of 10, the combat a 7 out of 10, graphics a 9 out of 10, character models a 9 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness an 8 out of 10. In total, 41 out of 50. Now, I think the top 2 here are merely a matter of whether you prefer open world games or instance ones. The number 1 and number 2 spots are highly dependent on this singular point. Zenless Zone Zero is a semi-instant, semi-hub based RPG. It has one of, if not the best combat the genre has to offer. It is fast, it is fluid, it is flashy, it has weight, and there's complexity to it. Graphically, the game looks gorgeous, and the character models, holy crap, they look incredible, especially the waifus. The men tend to be pretty average. The story is great, much less of a convoluted mess than other Hoyo games, featuring one of the best cast of characters Hoyo has to offer. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, pity is 90 like Genshin, with a 50-50 present, meaning a guaranteed character is 180 pulls. Weapons, W engines are 80 pity. I'd give this story a 7 out of 10, combat a 10 out of 10, graphics a 9 out of 10, character models a 9 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness a 4 out of 10. In total, 43 out of 50. Wuthering Waves is an open world RPG. It has the best action combat in the genre. That's just my opinion. Not everyone shares it, but I believe it has the most stunning visual effect, fluidity in terms of character movement, weight in terms of actions, and complex encounters, all while providing dodges, counters, and character combos in the form of intro and outro attacks. Graphically, there isn't a game that looks better. It has the most impressively detailed world and even better character designs for both men and women. The story, at its low point, is pretty damn boring, but at its high point is ridiculously addicting. In terms of free-to-play friendliness, pity is 80 for characters with a 50-50 present, meaning a guaranteed character is 160 pulls. Weapon banners are 80 pulls for pity, with no 50-50 present, meaning a guarantee at 80 pulls. I'd give the story a 7 out of 10, combat a 10 out of 10, graphics a 10 out of 10, character models a 10 out of 10, and free-to-play friendliness an 8 out of 10. In total, 45 out of 50. And they're the 10 best action games to play right now in 2025. The absolute best the genre has to offer. If you think I missed a game though, let me know down in the comments below. It might help someone else out. Hey, where do you think you're going? I see what you're doing there. I see you navigating on over, scrolling on over to that X button. Don't you dare. What I need you to do is take a moment and click one of the videos that are about to appear as soon as I'm done talking. And trust me, you're gonna wanna.